Sup, everybody? Sup, Rebecca?
Sup,
How are you?
everybody? Sup, Matthew? Hey.
Good to see you. I'm so excited today for everything we have going on. And, I'm just so curious, Rebecca. So how much have you seen in just the world of emergency services, these moments where someone who's living through brain change and how important it is to have some tools or some skill in helping those folks? How much have you seen that in your line of work?
I've seen it quite a bit. I've actually had an opportunity to do a lot of training with Phoenix Fire back from when I lived out there 100 years ago, and got to work with some of those folks out there. But it's such a needed piece because no matter what our role is, when we interact with someone with dementia, we need a little bit of those skills. Even if we don't think we work in dementia care, those skills can be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And luckily today on our episode, we're actually going to look into that world. And we have some great guests that are with us today, joining us today. But first, we definitely want to go on and talk about a tool that PAC actually came up with originally for emergency service workers. So Beth Nolan here is coming on today to join us to tell us about this GEM tool and the origins of it. And I think a lot of us know about it in the PAC world. I mean, yeah, we might have had some exposure. I don't know. What do you think, Beth? Have we had some exposure to the GEMS and the GEM state tool?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
Sup, Beth, welcome to Sup again. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So tell us about the origins of this GEM state tool and kind of how it's evolved over time, for not only just our folks in the emergency service environment, but just for the rest of us out there with this whole PAC training piece.
Yeah. So, folks, this is actually what Matthew and Rebecca are talking about. We have basically a tool. It's laminated and can get gunk on it and be used around in a rucksack a little bit. It's a little bit bigger, but luckily we now have an app, but a moment on that. Our GEM state tool actually originated quite a while ago from a woman by the name of Kathy Barron, one of our PAC certified consultants and also a PAC certified trainer. And she works in a psych emergency department. And so a lot of her interaction is working with first responders when they come in with someone for intake, whether voluntary or involuntary, and the level of distress someone's experiencing at that time. And one of the things that she, realized again and again is this idea that, folks have a really big heart when it comes to people in distress. So what she was recognizing is that this need to help, this need to serve was very clear, but there was a lack of information and tools and knowledge, first of all, on what it is that I'm seeing. What is it that I'm seeing when someone is living in a state of brain change due to distress or dementia? And how can I make things better in this moment for that person, but then also for myself? So she came to PAC to say, I love the GEMS. I love this concept of the GEMS and how it is we can help first responders in the moment recognize what's going on for someone in this moment of distress, maybe even with dementia, and be able to communicate that to anybody they interact with. But even more so, have a quick and dirty series of steps that I can follow so I can get myself and this person to a better place, to a place where we're a little bit more connected. And that's actually the origins of the GEM tool. Her idea was a simple crisis safety plan, whether it's used in the emergency department or by first responders out in the field on a call. And it kind of grew from there.
That is so cool. So there was definitely this need, not just with this whole piece of trying to help folks understand where these folks living with brain change are at, but and for people training or trying to help others understand, but just how that expands out into the environment and how much it can benefit other folks in different areas. And that's so cool that it was recognized and you guys started putting this together and going with that. That's awesome. I see such a huge difference when folks do implement this piece, this tool itself, and how much more it does feel like, oh my gosh, this is a human being. This isn't a number. And not only that, but it's not a stage where boom, they're locked in and that's it. They fluctuate. They can fluctuate through different states and that they can move. And we need to recognize that. That's awesome.
Well, and that's actually where we started, where we ended up backing up from this concept of really needing a 4-step crisis plan. Of course, it was, we didn't have it figured out that it was going to be 4 steps, but we wanted something very simple that I can use in an emergent situation. It was really backing up from there. And I can show you a little bit about our Gem State tool and bring people up to speed if you'd like to do that. Or would you rather talk a little bit more about how we are using this in the field?
I think definitely our viewers would love to see how this is being used in the field, because I know you can go on to that www.tepasnow.com and look in our store and you can see what the Gem State tool actually looks like and all of those different resources. So if you want to get a good look at those and kind of see if that's something that you might be interested in, that would be where you would go to purchase that. And I know Carrie's going to put that link in our comment section for you all, but yeah, we would love to know, okay, so how is this being implemented? How is this going forth?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of groups smattered across the country that I've had a chance to talk with that have been using the GEMS model. And particularly what I've found is, my thought on how that I as a practitioner was using the GEMS was really as a communication tool to have a conversation across different professions, across different fields on where someone is living in the moment, and therefore what they may be able to do, what skills or strengths that they have that are retained. However, first responders were using it a little bit differently. So there's one particular page that I've talked about, obviously our 4-step crisis plan, but actually the piece that I've heard more and more about is they have been using a different page. So when we look at our Gem State tool, we of course have the GEMS themselves listed, how each state, and whether it's a progression in the moment, change in the moment, or whether it's a progression across the disease basis. But there's 2 other pages that seem to be used the most, and they have become our reference page for a couple of the folks, first responders I've talked to. First of all is this, what is it I'm actually seeing? So this becomes our page, and this, this is very tiny font. So I apologize if you're now squinting to your screen. This is just to give you an idea. So maybe look to a little bit to the colors, and then I can explain a little bit more closely what it is you're actually seeing. So this particular page, what it has on it is a series of descriptions of what it is that you're seeing in the moment that I might be best able to identify where someone is. So for example, if I see someone that as they go to move and it becomes very clear that they're heading for a door handle and yet they miss it, they come up short, or their fingers hit the door clunk, clunk, before they actually grasp the door handle, that's pretty well understood that that's some sort of depth perception issue. So any first responder with a lick of experience can recognize maybe the difference between a single depth perception change and, let's say, a brain impairment associated with some unhealthy substance use. That one's pretty easy to discern for most first responders. So at that point, knowing you have a tool to go, I'm not actually in a crisis now. Can I look to see what else do I expect this person to be able to do? What skills and abilities might they have given that one little bit of information I observed? The cool part about it, on the back side of that page, flip it over, it says, given that, here's how I can respond. Here's the number of words I can use in a sentence. Here's how fast I can move. Here's what it is I may be able to do visually in terms of giving clues and cues to help somebody do what I need them to do in this moment. Those 2 pieces have been, from what I understand, have been a really huge boon for folks that, as my officers have told me, it's not like every call is truly an emergency. There are times when my biggest tool in my tool belt is time. I'm with the person on a call, and I do have a few moments to figure out exactly what's going on and how it is I might be able to intervene. And so, we've got officers that do a pretty good job of de-escalation. Officers that I've worked with are unbelievable. In fact, we've got a lot of data showing that they're really amazing at assessing lethality. Go figure. For their own safety and the safety of the person they're interacting with, they get pretty good at this pretty fast. What tends to happen then is you have a bunch of officers that are really, really good, or EMTs or emergency services of any kind that are really good at recognizing and observing skills, but placing them in the context of brain change, that's the piece that they're looking for a few extra tools about. Now, what can I do besides the stuff I've tried before? And this is those heartbreaking moments when they know something ain't right. How is it that I can get this person to a safer place? Because I really do want to help them. That's what this tool had then reportedly been working for them.
That is so cool. And it's so great to have that resource there, especially sometimes when it can be a stressful moment, because we all know when we get stressed and that cortisol is dumping on our brain and we're having a hard time really thinking as clearly as we could, even folks who are experienced in those stressful moments, having a resource that can really be straightforward and really give you those clues and those tips to be able to do the best you can in those moments makes it all that much easier. So that is so awesome. We just love the GEMS tool, and especially the app that came out and everything else. And I mean, it's just amazing. And we look forward to seeing the continued progression of the GEMS tool and everything else. Beth, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, Rebecca, I'm curious, what gem are we going to look at today and the amazing shine that they have?
We have a gem of all gems. In fact, I'll give you a hint. Those of you who don't know, because she's not popping up on your Facebook screen yet, because she's not making noise, so don't make noise. Who is the gem that was probably around before there was such thing as gems? So, sup, Melanie Bunn?
Hi, guys. I'm excited about the people who are here with me today, because these are the people we really need to be listening to and learning from, because y'all can get me any old time. The real gems tonight are the law enforcement representatives that we have with us. So I am really excited about hearing from them.
Melanie, ever humble. I so appreciate that. But we are going to shine a light on you for a second, because we got you on here when your son was being highlighted. And now we got you on here because others, but the little trick is we do want to highlight you a little bit because you are amazing. Now, I've heard you say that.
Let's do that another time.
Okay, we'll go fast. Listen, promise me. Listen to me. You tell a story. You told me once, I think we might have had a little bit of a adult beverage, and you told me that Teepa was actually there at the hospital when Matthew was born.
Yeah, she was there.
So you guys go way, way, way back. Can you give us a little bit of insight before we go to your guests? I know you want to get to them. Tell us how you and Teepa met and started this whole thing that you guys do together, and what you do outside of PAC, and how you know these people. That can be our introduction into them.
Well, one of the wonderful things I've had the opportunity to do in my career, working with people living with dementia, all kinds of people, is truly the work I do outside of PAC with Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, with Duke University, but especially with the amazing group of people we have here today from the Durham area who are truly involved with law enforcement. And so that's been really exciting to be able to partner with them, to be able to really learn from them, learn with them about how to make life better for people living with dementia.
So how did this relationship get started?
There's a program called Crisis Intervention Team Training, and Layton can probably actually describe it better than I can. And it truly is about how we prepare first responders to engage, interact in really positive ways with people with a variety of challenges.
So you got linked in with them because you are known in your area to be a dementia leader, dementia trainer. Layton, you can see that she is not wanting any attention. She is like deferring. So let's just go ahead and pull your team up. If you guys want to show if you can start your video. And Layton, I'm going to let you take it because she's being humble. Can you tell us how you got connected with the amazing Melanie Bunn?
Well, thank you. Honestly, Miss Melanie, I don't know why she's being so humble tonight, because she's awesome at what she does. I actually became the CIT coordinator for Durham in 2013, and she was actually already connected to the program before I even came on board. We got started in Durham in 2007. And for those who don't know what CIT basically stand for, Crisis Intervention Team, it's a 40-hour training that the first responders go to that teach them about mental health disorders, substance use disorders, developmental disabilities, and so forth and so on. And of course, Ms. Melanie is our expert when it comes to dementia. She just kind of comes in and hits the ball out of the park, explaining about what dementia is and going through the different behaviors that individuals might exhibit, just to get the first responders a better understanding of what they may see, how they need to. And she actually gives techniques of how they can actually interact with someone who may, have dementia and so forth. And it's just amazing, and her presentation is like one of a kind. She walks around actually and gets the first responders involved. And, after, and she apologizes after her presentation and says, if I mess with anybody, I apologize, but they absolutely love it. They absolutely love it. She's one of our best presenters. I'm talking about, she gets the best reviews every time she presents. And I actually have, like I said, my partners on here with me. I have Major Bazemore. He's with Durham County Sheriff's Office. I have Miss Joy Brunson-Nsubuga. I almost got it. And then Captain Linton, he's actually over at Duke University. So it's basically a partnership. It's a partnership with first responders, with the mental health community, and the community and NAMI, and so forth. So basically we pull this training together for our first responders. And like I said, Ms. Melanie, she's actually one of our phenomenal key presenters during the training. So with that said, I want to pass the baton over to one of my partners and let them kind of chime in.
That is so cool. And so what I'm curious, and all of you guys can kind of chime in and give your own experience with this. So before these trainings, before you guys had an opportunity to really dive into this, and even just looking at with Melanie's training especially, and how dynamic you guys are expressing it is, and how she gets you up and gets you moving and doing things. What did you guys notice about how easy it was helping those folks living through brain change or in these challenging situations? How was that going for you guys? How did that feel when you were going through those things with those folks, or experiences you've heard from other officers or other staff members?
Mr. Bazemore, if you're talking, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
I know. Matthew, for me, I was completely oblivious to the needs of the citizens that were experiencing mental illness. Completely oblivious. This training has broadened my horizon in terms of the needs of our individuals, not only just suffering from mental illness, but have co-occurring disorder, how their brains are reprogrammed from substance use disorder to just the dynamics of dealing with mental illness, from just the mental illness itself to having to figure out how they're going to take medication, to how to deal with the homelessness aspect of this. So it's the diversification of mental illness is just broad, and being able to better appreciate what an individual is experiencing. This course has just been completely priceless.
Wow. So you were noticing that, boy, before it was difficult. It was hard at times to really understand what was going on and how to best help the person in this situation. And then as you started to get this training and you started getting this exposure, you were like, oh, okay. I see I see now. I see some of the things I could be doing here, and what I could change about my approach to help make this a positive situation versus I'm not quite sure where we're going to go with this. Boy, it's not looking too good right now. So, okay, cool. Anybody else want to share?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, I came in to support the mental health and substance use side of it, and also the crisis side of it. And so we support by helping first responders identify symptoms and being able to identify that someone needs care. And so we are responsible for the crisis centers in Durham. And so we make it a point that if an officer comes to us with an individual, whether that's dementia, whether that is mental illness, whether that's substance use, if you are concerned about someone, you bring them to us. And then you can go back to your public safety job, and we will make sure that individual gets the care that they need. Whether that they're in the right place. If not, we will drive them to the right place. We will get in contact with their family members. We will help that individual get to where they need to be. All the officer has to do is bring that individual to us, and we will say yes every single time. And so my part of this 40-hour course is to do education on substance use disorders, but also to educate first responders on the appropriate use of a crisis center. And that is, whoever you encounter, if you have concerns about that person, please bring them to us so we can help identify the concerns that you have. That way you can get back to what you need to do, and then we will take it from there. And we have great partners in the community, with the hospitals, with mobile crisis, with community resources. And so we're able to support the community in that way, and to be able to help any individual that an officer brings to us. We are known for our 5-minute turnaround time, so that an officer can bring someone to us and they're out back during their role in under 5 minutes. And we take responsibility for ensuring that individuals get the care that they need. And we pride ourselves on that, even if it isn't something that we're experts in.
Wow, that is so cool, Joy. So you guys are that support piece to help those officers, because they still have a job to do. They still got to go out there and continue on doing what they need to do. And we all know sometimes, especially when we're working with anybody living through this brain change, it takes some time to figure out, especially when you don't know who they are or their history or anything like that, the best way to approach them. And you're doing the best you can, but to have that support to be able to then go to the crisis center and get that backup. Essentially, you, Joy, putting the SUP in support right? Mm-hmm. That is so awesome that you guys have that set up like that, to be able to give them that opportunity to get that help, and then still be able to continue on and do their role in the community and do what they need to do. So that is so cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm curious. So Melanie, how did this all get started? How did you even get connected with all of these wonderful folks and get this training going, or adding this piece into the training they were already getting?
Well, years ago, there was a woman who was involved with the Justice Academy, which is kind of where a lot of the basic law enforcement training happens in North Carolina. And she kind of became a real advocate and began saying, we need to include dementia in this crisis intervention training. We need to develop these partnerships, because there are things that I don't know about what people are experiencing, what people are doing. And so truly what has made this collaboration really powerful is respect and truly cooperation, and really listening to the officers express what they need and what's going well. And I've changed some things from what I've learned about them. Durham invites me, and we talk a lot in PAC about personality, and Layton is a guy who wants things set like this. You know, he wants to have a schedule and keep it. And he has been incredibly generous with, you know, I would love to be there, but I'm going to be in Michigan that day. And so even though he would love to have a calendar for the week and do that every week, he's been incredibly flexible with making this work. And that comes because they really value not just knowledge, which is what a lot of people have and give, but they really value and use and support the skills. You know, so they've taught me that the things that we work on in dementia, they've also found ways to layer that into some of the autism stuff. So Layton, you're nodding. Can you kind of speak to that just a minute?
Well, it's interesting that, you know, some of our blocks actually overlap with information, because we have some blocks where, you know, especially like with our developmental disability piece, you know, they'll be speaking almost the same similar language that Ms. Melanie speaks of in her presentation, but also some of the skills that Ms. Melanie talks about in her presentation would be applicable to the developmental disability population of folks. You know, just like she talks about how you have to slow your rate of speech down, and, you know, how you actually have to approach, you know, someone if you do think that they have this particular type of situation going on. But a lot of things really overlap. And I think that they really, like, the light bulb really goes off from one presentation to another presentation. And someone that I did want to chime in that I haven't heard from yet that's on the call is Captain Linton, because he actually brings a unique skill set to our crisis intervention team, because not only is he the captain at Durham, at Duke University Police Department, but he's retired from the Durham Police Department, and he's a veteran. So, you know, I know he's actually seen a lot of these different things that we may be mentioning on this call. So I would like for him to chime in and kind of give his input.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I apologize. I was being attacked by a dog who wanted some screen time. I have to tell my wife come get the dog. He'll be coming in shortly, barking. I'm apologize that ahead of time. But anyway,
okay. Rebecca has some dog trouble sometimes too, so we're used to it, but we love it, so no worries at all.
From my standpoint, what this whole program has been about, because see, I retired like in 2005 from Durham. About that time, probably 2004 is when Durham Access came on the scene for us. And so I said, wow, how great is this? Here I am leaving, because see, when I started with Durham Police in 1980, I kid you not, I worked on 9th Street, and if there was a call with somebody with some kind of commitment, anything like that, it wouldn't be unusual to get the call. We'd have to go to the hospital, or we may have to go pick the person up, go to the hospital. Then you got to wait for the on-call person who's going to come in and do the first evaluation. If you're lucky, you got a Duke officer who might say, I'll watch that person for you, but most times it's not the way. Then you wait till it's over. Either you're going to carry them back home, or then you got to hook up with a sheriff deputy to carry them out to Butner. It could easily take 3, 4 hours, 5 hours easily. And so when this came along, when I said, okay, you could go turn them over. And then, of course, when Jordan got involved, that was unheard of to turn around in 5 minutes. You could be right back on your job, which was amazing. So wanted to push that, because at Duke, our guys are so used to just carry them right there to the emergency room, go through that way. And the challenge is still to say, stop yet doing what is a habit. Let's go 5 minutes, carry them out. You could be back on duty for the time it takes you, you know, getting them to break that habit. And then we also, from my standpoint, I think about the cost factor, the difference in the cost factor where you get treatment at. So it's been real good, because we have a lot of officers a lot of our officers are like me, they retire from other places. So when they get to see these presentations, because some of these people take stuff for granted, assuming that sometimes people just want attention, they're faking it. And so when Ms. Melanie comes and do her part, and we got the people who we identify as the volunteers and voluntoes. A lot of times the voluntoes are, we got them, once they get Miss Melanie's part, because she's not going to let you sit and not take part. You have to get involved. Going to be some embarrassing, going to be good. So with that in itself, a lot of times that changes people over. And it's so amazing because when we have the graduation, the people have to get up and say the difference between their first day and then the ending day. And it's really amazing some of the stories to talk about, because again, a lot of times some of our officers think they're just being challenged. It's not unusual. We got quite a few folks from New York. Imagine trying to get them to slow down talking. The New York officers would like say, I need you to slow down, because the way they're used to doing things. So it's you would think an officer who done been on 20 years, it's amazing when they say, okay, I still got stuff I can learn. When you go through this training and you can see the ways, how you do things differently. And it opened their eyes up, what they thought maybe was fake, but they get an understanding, here's what's going on with this person. It's not that they're just being a jerk and stuff like that. So we get away from arrest to trying to get them the help that they actually need.
That is so cool. Yeah. So talking about how Melanie's using that thing that the trainers really love to use, which is that AELC, that adult experiential learning cycle, and getting you guys to get up and doing some kind of embarrassing things, but the ahas, right, that come after you do those, and the sudden, okay, now I see why I saw this in this situation, or why I heard that this person got this reaction from this person. It starts to sink in. And then you get into that piece of, okay, so what am I going to do differently? How am I going to change this? And I love what you were talking about, Michael, with the habit, right? That's one thing we really talk a lot about too, is about finding ways to create new habits and getting those to stick, and how important that is. So I'm curious, what's an experience that you had with Miss Melanie's training that you recall, real strong experience that you recall that was one of those aha moments? And I'm going to have everybody else share one too. So everybody start thinking about it while Michael's talking about it, but you all come up with the one strong aha moment you had from that training that you got from Melanie.
Well, I'm not going to have that many because of my position, because I got to come over to Duke as a lieutenant. So I've been administrative for the most of my career there at Duke. However, some of the calls that I know, because another piece that's important to me is our proximity with the VA. And it's amazing how that interacts with us, because I do remember this. Here's one thing I always want to know, because I say it's important for me to know, because I remember one night they had a guy who had walked away from the VA and ended up over at Duke. Well, we found out that he had issues going on, some, mental issues going on. But what I was more concerned about when I found out, because I used to be special forces, but he was a Ranger and all that. That's the kind of stuff I want to know, what I'm dealing with, the kind of training that person has, who we dealing with, the potential for danger and stuff like that. So I try to push that upon our officers. It's important for you to notice. It's important for how you treat people, because you don't know how they were treated the last time they saw a uniform. So just seeing your uniform could cause something. So getting officers to understand that, and that's what I like about all our officers coming together in Durham County, because we know that officer that we may turn them over to that sheriff deputy, he had the same training. So you have that continuity of service. The same thing if we got somebody who they bring over from NCCU, so stay involved, or Durham Tech. So that's one big thing about it that I really like.
So cool. So everybody's got the same training. They all have that piece, that skill, and that awareness. So no matter what happens, at least everybody's kind of on that same page, and the same thing's going to happen. So that's awesome. And having that awareness, like you said, not knowing really maybe what training the person's had, or having that idea of training, at least they have that skill and awareness from some of the things that Melanie showed you all, that they can approach that person and be aware of that and try to find the positive way to come out with that situation versus what could potentially happen. So cool. Who's next? Who's got another one of those moments, or maybe a story they've heard of one of those, like, oh my gosh, in the training this happened and I didn't know what to do in that situation, but it was awesome.
Not so much that for me. I've been in the business for 32 years now, and I'm running into more geriatric individuals that are suffering from dementia. And as I'm a sponge in class every time she walk in, and I try to utilize those skills with the individuals that I'm working with in the community. Very rarely do we run into those individuals in a detention setting, but in the community, we run into quite a few. And even after class or just dealing with my coworkers, how can I do this? And inevitably, I always refer them back to Miss Bunn if it's something outside my scope of expertise. But just her skill set, everything, and Layton does a phenomenal job trying to get her in within the first 2 days of class, because literally everything that Miss Bunn shares with us is skills that we can use throughout the week. Now we drop ELEAP on them: engage, listen, empathize, agree, partner. And I just think it's phenomenal how she has a whole nother presentation approach that she dropped that in their lap, that it just made my job so much easier by Thursday, by the time it's time for me to teach, so that they can pick up everything that she has already dropped on them on the first 1 or 2 days of class, in the first 1 or 2 days of class.
That's so cool. So just noticing how her support of you and being able to give that experience and some of that training to make your job easier when you come in there on Thursday and you're getting ready to do your thing, and how and I love what you were saying about you've been doing this so long that you've realized anything I can get, any information, any skill, any tool, give it to me. I'm a sponge. Let me soak it up. Versus sometimes, we come across folks that can be kind of a tough nut. They're like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I think I know what I'm doing. I don't really need any information. I got this. I'm okay. I'm good. But you are like, no, give it to me. Give me what I can, anything I can take that I can use. Let's do this. So that's awesome. Joy, how about you?
So I will say, out of the crew, I'm probably the newest on the block. I came in a little later than everyone else. And as far as, my work with the crisis facilities, I have several. I don't have a whole lot of time. But the one thing when I started presenting, one thing that Layton, and I don't even know if he remembers this, talked about just the level of presenters and information that is in the 40-hour class, and that includes Miss Melanie. And I haven't seen her presentation, but I can say from the work and skill that she has, there is a certain level of you need to be on point whenever I come and do my presentations, or whenever I'm coming in maybe third day and I'm after some others who have already presented. There's just a certain level of skill that Layton talked to me about just early on that we needed to have in order to be able to present in this training. So that's been my experience with it. And I think just the way that I hear individuals talk about her trainings and talk about the information and the comments that I read and all of that, I just know that she does a phenomenal job.
Ooh, so you haven't been through it yet. So you're gonna get a chance to. Exciting. So how are you feeling right now, hearing some of the stories from some of these other guys here talking about this, and just some of the experiences or pieces that they've been talking about on top of what you've already been told?
So it sounds like I will be at her training when we open up the next CIT class. That's what it sounds like. And then also, I'm just thinking more broadly, as this is another area that's not necessarily within our expertise as a crisis facility, even though we do encounter individuals that are brought to us with dementia. So I'm now thinking kind of bigger span of how can we maybe talk to Miss Melanie about training at our site or training with our providers, or just how can we build our own skill set, because we do get individuals that are brought to us, or family members bring individuals to us when they're just not sure what's going on. So I think being able to increase our own skill sets with diagnosing and proper care and interaction. We utilize a lot of peer support specialists. And so our crisis center is founded on the recovery model. So we have more peers on than anyone else on staff at any given time. So I'm thinking now kind of broadly of how we can expand the skill sets of the staff that we have on site with this particular type of training.
So cool. So you're noticing how this can really expand out into more areas and benefit a lot more folks than maybe just kind of what's getting it right now. So that is so cool. And we love hearing that, especially with a lot of these trainings, especially working with folks with brain change. So that is so cool. So Layton, what do you think? What's one of your biggest, I know you kind of gave us a little bit about, like, especially talking about some of that getting up and moving around, but what's probably a moment you've had where you were feeling like, wow, yeah, this was a big aha for me. This really hit it home for me.
Well, mine is more of, I think, just a collaboration of things. And what I mean when I say that is I sit back and observe the class as the class going on, and observe the trainees in the class. And it's almost like you can see all these different aha moments going on. And these first responders not only see how this particular training can help them in their work life, but they also see how it can help them in their personal lives. Because I actually have someone, but probably about a week or so ago, that reached out to me. And because I sit through this particular training all the time, as they was telling me some of the symptoms that their person that they were, talking about, I want to say it was their mom. And they was telling some of the different symptoms that they were, experiencing it. And all of these different little light bulbs start going off in my head. Like, okay, I might have to get you in contact with Miss Melanie and have a little discussion to find out if this is exactly what it is. But the fact that, we have this training incorporated into our training, it just shows that we're able to identify things ourselves that we probably wouldn't have been able to identify initially. We could have thought it may have been something totally different, but now that we got almost like this mental checklist going on as we hear things, and like, do you know how to approach this situation? Do you know, are they exhibiting this or are they exhibiting that? And it's just amazing just to see how all of that starts coming up out of you and you don't even realize it. But because you're sitting in this training so frequently, like we are, it's almost like it's second nature now. And it has made us, I think, to be able to do our jobs and also just be a go-to person for other people out here in the community who say, you know what, you are part of that CIT team, aren't you? What kind of stuff is it that they talk about? Do they talk about, maybe people that have Alzheimer's? Or do they talk about this? So they start asking questions because they're interested. And, and then I'll be like, so what are you dealing with? They start telling some of the stuff that they may be dealing with, and it just starts making the light bulb goes off. So it's just a whole bunch of aha moments, for me when it comes down to the training. And then just to hear different people within the training to share their personal experiences with individuals who, may be suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. It's just amazing, and after, like I said, after the training is over with, they say, you know what? I didn't know it initially why I came to this training, but just this block by itself is worth its weight in gold, because I can actually take what I've learned back to my personal life, and I can actually see how I probably can help my people now.
So Layton, can you mention some of the role plays that I do with the officers? Like, I thought not those, not the ones that are going to get us in trouble.
Okay.
Just hush and just behave. but
I was scared Layton was gonna snitch you out a few minutes ago.
but maybe like the one I do about my son or something,
Okay.
in his head. Not the law enforcement, and first responders, it gets really real. And so being really honest about what life is like and what's really going on in homes is really important. So can you choose one of those that might be like PG, not R-rated? Not going to make people not like me anymore.
So
Jerry, get ready with the bleep button.
So Miss Melanie does this one role play where she actually walks up to, the individual as they're sitting down at their desk, and she just starts to rubbing their head. Just starts rubbing their head, just like consistently just rubbing their head. And she was like, she'll say in that particular role play, you know what your daddy used to always say, give a man his dollars due. And see, I even remember part of the role play. Give a man his dollars due. And she keeps saying it over and over and over. And the person keeps answering the question over and over and over. So then she uses basically she says, well, if you really were my son and I really were your mom saying this to you, how long do you think that you actually can sit there and keep doing this? She was like, I probably can keep doing it for I don't know how long, but how long do you think that you will actually be able to, let this go on? She was like, so think about it, us being human beings, you'll be like, mama, just stop. So, the person probably get frustrated and get up and probably grab mom. But think about if you're dealing with a 60-something, 70-something year old person, you're just trying to, because you're frustrated, you're just trying to tell mom to stop. But here it is, you done grab mom to get out, to stop, maybe bruised her or something like that. And it looks like something that is not. And it's all because, the situation was what it was with this person, dealing with what they were dealing with dementia wise. And you just kind of didn't know how to handle it at that particular moment because you got frustrated.
And so, some of the things about working with law enforcement officers that's different from working with healthcare people.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement officers don't like you to touch them. I mean, they don't want you to put their hand, they don't want to touch each other. They don't want me to touch them. They want me to stand behind my podium, and they would be very happy if I stood there and read PowerPoint slides. They'd be very good. They like the brain pictures. They like those, they like the autopsy pictures and the PET scans. They like those pictures, but they would just be very happy if I just stood there and talked with them, but it wouldn't get the same impact. And so developing, it's through the support, particularly of Layton and Major Bazemore, of kind of, this is okay to do this. This is what we do here. You're gonna have somebody stand behind you, and the expectation is really clear from the leadership of CIT. You will participate. You are going to do these activities. This is part of going through this program. We've invested in you and you're going to do it. And so I've never had anybody not do the things with me. I take people through the Positive Physical Approach Connect. I take people through having somebody standing behind them and touching them. And they really don't like it. I mean, they really don't. It's become really kind of fun to see which ones, and sometimes they'll point out, I'll walk in, and I usually always walk in, because I'm committed to this process, at least 3 minutes before I'm supposed to start speaking. Let's go, yeah, right. So, I walk in and they'll point, pick on him, go get him or go get her. She needs some help. And so it's really this collaboration, and it's this, respect for what they do and how they do and why they do, but then also working with them the way they learn, which tends to be, they like the brain pictures. They like, those images are powerful. They like the experiencing something. They don't want that, even though they don't like it, they learn from it. They remember it. But it's about, I always start those sessions by saying, if you look at the abbreviations, I'm not in law enforcement, I'm not a first responder. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job, because that would be arrogant and disrespectful. But I do know a lot about people who can create a lot of challenge in your life. And then we collaborate. So if they say, I can't do this because of this, then we work on, so what, how can we make it work for you? So I learned things like, learn this with law enforcement and at the Durham VA is when I'm working with a law enforcement officer with dementia, I never work on that officer's right side or dominant side. Because, and why is that? They don't want you on their side with their weapon. So they get really funny when I ask them to use their right hand to do some of this stuff, because they haven't used their right hand for anything since they became in law enforcement. So it's understanding their world and listening to them, and then using some humor and some experiences. So.
That is so cool. So I love the noticing of, okay, so this isn't like going into a healthcare environment and training nurses or med techs or aides or therapists. This is totally different. And that recipe that you came up with, especially noticing those pieces of, okay, yeah, so right side, not so good. We need to work on that piece. What can we do? What can we adjust here? And okay, what scenarios to come up with, some of the different scenarios, what's the situation? So I'm curious, Melanie, how has your role play changed when it comes to doing this in a healthcare environment versus doing this with first responders like these folks?
It's using a lot more dark humor. It's using a lot more. I can say some things that I wouldn't say. I can say some things about autopsy photographs that healthcare people wouldn't respond to the same way that first responders respond to. One of the things I do you want to tell about when I will bring somebody up and talk to them and they don't understand me, Layton? We won't do the other one, but that one I think will be okay.
I'll let Bazemore explain.
So Miss Bunn, in one of the things that I like about Miss Bunn is that she starts her block of instruction off by explaining that she's a nurse and that she's going to try to do her best to incorporate this training into our world. And I think that's paramount, because that's starting off. But one of her role plays is literally showing how people may or may not understand what it is. So she asks a person a question, they nod their head, and then the next thing you know, she's unzipping their pants, and then they just get petrified because, oh my God, that ain't what I agreed to. And then she said she go back over the conversation. I asked you something, and you agreed to it. So it's really these role plays. Oh my goodness. She has another role play where she walks through the room and take people's cell phones and then drop them in a pocketbook. And there's another role play that she does where she's talking to her sister on the telephone, and then she go into the kitchen and she can't remember what it is. Well, hell, I'm finding myself more and more just, oh my God, I picked up my phone to call somebody. I can't remember what it is or who it was. So, and then all I think about, Miss Bunn taught me how to do that, how to forget what I was doing. So, but it really brings a good perspective on what our individuals are that are experiencing this particular disorder at whatever point in life they may be going through, and the significance of how we must slow down and take time with them, not to exacerbate their situation.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. And the power of that role play and how it does give the ahas and really hit home what it is that we're trying to show these folks who are going to be in these situations. Because I could sit here and tell you all day long, look, when you're dealing with somebody with brain change, they're not going to understand what you're saying. So you really have to be careful what you're doing and how you're saying it and how you're shaking your head. So make sure you're mindful of that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is also make sure you're approaching them this way, because if you don't approach them, I could go on like that, but when you actually do it, when you experience it, when you have somebody as skilled as Melanie being the person who's role playing this person living through brain change and giving you that almost real life experience, boy, it really fires everything up in the brain, gets the juices flowing, and it helps to stick and stay with you. And that is so awesome. So what do you think, Rebecca? I think we have an amazing group of gems here.
Man, we sure do. Thank you all for being on SUP. We appreciate your time and all that you guys are doing in the community. And I also think this is a really important lesson for our trainers who are watching the show about how to individualize your training for different audiences. You did not hear that Melanie goes in and does it the same way that she does it with other audiences. So hope that you take that away. We have to tailor our approach, just as we do with those who are living with brain change. We also have to tailor our approach to different industries that we're working with. And so Melanie can maybe say some things that she wouldn't say, or maybe kind of get those shock effects. And that's awesome because you've really individualized it, Mel. So thank you for that. And thank you, because I know so many people within the certified community right now are really looking to make these connections with first responders, with emergency providers in their community. But really watch this episode and listen to what Mel does that makes it unique, and reach out to her for more information. It looks like she's got something to add. What's up, Mel?
And the one thing I would truly say is find a partner who has life experience. And so you're not talking at people, you're talking with them, because it truly is about building on what people need. And so I can't say enough that it truly is the collaboration. Find a partner in law enforcement or EMS or first responder, and listen to them and learn from them, because they bring things into that I would never think about. So find that collaboration.
So cool. So get curious, PAC community, and anybody else who are trying to help these folks with these trainings, or just trying to get out there and give some awareness and skill. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on the show and spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. And we are so thankful for everything you guys do, all of the service that you give us and keeping us safe and helping those folks out there who are trying to keep us safe. We really do appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, Rebecca.
Thank you all for your time. Should we do this again next week?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, same time, same place.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Show some more shine. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks, gang, for being on tonight.
Bye, guys. Take care.
You're welcome.
Yeah.